Hi, welcome or welcome back to Books and Bocadillos. My name is Maria Andrea, and I am using the Untouched book tag to the max. I am using it to create my TBR for the month of September. Now, I'm not huge on TBR videos. I don't like to get hung up on a TBR, but I am trying something new this month just for a little bit of fun because after August, I am to the max of like decision fatigue. Like I just need some help. So Ellen at Ellen Mead Book Club did her TBR game for the month of August, and I felt inspired. So I did something like a tin with books in here. I put 10 books. I made lists of 10 books that I'll talk about in a little bit. And so I'm going to select a few books that I might add to some sort of TBR. But what I am focusing on and prioritizing is a mood board. Created a mood board to try to help like narrow down and really like create the kind of vibe that I want for this month in terms of my reading life. So I'm participating in a few events, and they are the first one is the Week of Weird. This event is co-hosted by Crystal at Fiber Artsy and Jason at Jason's Weird Reads, I think. I'll link the channels in the description box. And for this week of Weird, I am reading Tears of the Truffle-Pig by Fernando A. Flores. I love Fernando A. Flores. I think he's great for weird fiction. I read Valley-esque, a collection of short stories a few years ago. Absolutely loved it. And I'm looking forward to this novel. This is a novel, and I think it's a short one too. So I am looking forward to Tears of the Truffle-Pig. For the Books and Bocadillos book club that I co-host or that I host um, in my Discord and here on BookTube, we are reading How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accent by Julia Alvarez. And I have that one right here. So this is a banned book. It takes place over a lifespan. It's kind of a reverse chronological order kind of book. You start with the four Garcia sisters in the present day and then go in reverse to their childhood in La República Dominicana. And it's told in like vignettes and short stories from the perspectives of each of the sisters. And I read this when I was in my 20s, probably like in college. And I don't remember much from it, but I don't remember anything in it that made me feel like it would be a banned book. So I'm really curious as an adult to go back. I was an adult when I read it. I think I was maybe early 20s. But I'm really curious to go back and reread this 20 years later and find out what about this book makes it a banned book. And that's really why I wanted to read this book. Now, this is also a book that is it holds the themes of coming of age, and that's a theme that I absolutely love. So I'm looking forward to another coming of age story. I just finished August, and I'm still into coming of age themes. And it's also about assimilation and immigration. So I'm actually reading a book right now that also discusses assimilation. So I'm really curious to see how the conversation is going to play out between the book that I'm currently reading and this one. I'll talk more about my current reads, hopefully, in the next weekly update. Hopefully, I'll get back to those weekly updates this month of September. So, more to come on that. And I'm also participating in Framed. I I don't know. I think Greg from Another Bibliophile Reads is one of the co-hosts or one of the hosts of this event. I know that there's several others. I'll try to look that up and figure that out in the description box. I've heard a few of my booktube friends talking about Framed, and I am also looking forward to it. I'm going to be perusing the art journal of Frida Kahlo for that event. And the book, I've showed it here on my channel before, it's A las Rotas. I'm looking forward to perusing that art journal. And I'm also participating in Shorty September. I'm not going to worry about the prompts. I'm just going to read the books, and by the end, I'll be able to see what fit what prompt. So I'll be able to report back on like how what I'm reading is fulfilling any of the prompts, if any. I'm sure I will. I don't know how many prompts I'll be able to fulfill, but I'm not going to worry about the prompts. I'm just going to read and then figure that out later. And the last thing, it's not a booktube event, but it is something that I like to do on a yearly basis. And this is Read for Hispanic Heritage Month. But for me, Hispanic Heritage Month reading gets extended. So I usually start reading like specifically for Hispanic Heritage Month around the 15th or the 16th of September, that's when we celebrate El Día de la Independencia in Mexico. And I think other Latin American countries celebrate their independence at around the same time in September. So that's the kickoff, the Day of Independence. And then it usually ends like mid-October, but I extend it up until Dia de los Muertos because in October I'm also reading a lot of books that I think are fitting for Dia de los Muertos. And so I just kind of extend it, and I end my Hispanic Heritage Month reading for the 2nd of November, which is El Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. So those are the 4 events that are starting in September. The Hispanic Heritage Month is going to extend into November, but that's kind of my mood for September. I'm participating in a book club, my local indie. We're reading The Haunting of Alejandra by Castro. I'm joining the Death by TBR book club on booktube, and they're reading Swamplandia by Karen Russell, and I have that on my shelf, so I finally have something that I can join for. I'm buddy reading Lois the Witch with Melinda, and Lois the Witch is by Elisabeth Gaskell. Melinda from the Web Stories. I'm reading The Angel of History with my friends from the Pineiro Project. Looking forward to that. And I think that's it. I mentioned A las Rotas by Frida Kahlo. So I think like those are like the books that are for sure to be read. Now I'm going to create additional possibilities using my tin. And so what I've done is the Untouched book tag asks you to pick 10 books from your shelves. So I did, but I went ahead and did 10 books from my physical shelves, 10 books from my Kindle collection, and 10 books from my audiobook collection. So total of 30 books. I'm not going to go into detail on all of these books. I'm going to kind of try to present them quickly, and then I'll draw, and then the ones that I pick are the ones I'll probably talk a little bit more about. So let's get to it. So I'll start with the physical ones. So 10 books from my physical shelves. For Shorty September, all of these books that I picked from my physical shelf, my Kindle shelf, and my audiobook collection, they are all under 200 pages. So, or under 5 hours of listening time. I try to look for some that were under like 4, but 5 and under for listening hours. Okay, so physical books. I have a whole stack of shorties. I wish I could show you, but I don't. I'm going to try to be brief. So the first possibility for a shorty is Fever Dream by Samantha Schweblin. And yes, I did prioritize Latinx authors for my physical shelves because of Hispanic Heritage Month. So this is Fever Dream, a novel by Samantha Schweblin. Quick blurb here. The LA Times says it's the scariest of all things, a ghost story that is, in essence, true. Samantha Schweblin is an Argentinian author. Next is La Historia de mis Dientes, Story of My Teeth by Valeria Luiselli. I really enjoy Valeria Luiselli. The book club, the Books and Bocadillos book club, read the Lost Children Archive in January, and I really liked it. So I have had this one on my shelves for years, and I've been meaning to read it. And I'm looking forward to getting to it. Hopefully this month if the TBR pulls it out. And I'm going to say that about I want all of these books to come out. I really, really want to read. And I am so struggling with decision fatigue. I cannot pick one. So that's why I am using the tin to help me figure out what I'm reading. Because this is another book I have to read. Terror Story by Hilary Lecter. Hilary Lecter is easily one of my favorite authors of all time. I love her writing and I cannot wait to read this book. I've had it on my shelves for at least a couple of years. Days at the Morizaki Bookshop. This is a newer one. I've had this on my shelf for maybe a year, I think. This is a translated book, translated by Eric Ozawa. I don't know too much about it, but I think it's cozy and I would like to read it. I also have the sequel to it, so I know. Restrict, a poetic narrative by Sol Rivera. This is a long form poem about eating disorders. Multiple choice by Alejandro Zambra. Alejandro Zambra is Chilean, and this book is also in translation. It's translated by Megan McDowell, and he is the author of Chilean Poet. The New York Times Book Review blurbs it as dazzling, a work of parody, but also of poetry. And this is a novel that is, I would consider it like an experiential or experimental novel. Mary Ventura in the Ninth Kingdom, a story by Sylvia Plath. I think I've mentioned Sylvia Plath before. She's one of my all-time favorites. Mrs. Murakami's Garden by Mario Bellatin, translated by Heather Cleary, and I believe this was published by Deep Ellum Press. And Deep Ellum Press is a Texas publishing company, publishing house. Okay. Oh, Caledonia, a novel by Elspeth Barker. Ali Smith says this is one of the best, least known novels of the 20th century. I have heard MJ rave about this book, and I actually bought it because MJ raved about it a few years ago, and I've had it on my bookshelves for at least 2 years, and I really, really want to read it, and I always save it for the fall, and it's always one of those books that I'm looking at during fall time because I bring it out and make it visible, and I haven't reached for it yet, so we'll see if it's meant to be this fall. And then Carcoma by Leila Martinez. And this is in Spanish. This is supposed to be a horror book. So I'm really looking forward to reading this little shorty. But I'm really curious to get to know her and read her book. So let's see what the TBR gives me. Now for audiobooks, the possibilities are Glyph by Ali Smith, La Despedida by Isabella Victoriano, The Reunion Dinner by Jessie Q. Sutanto, My Evil Mother by Margaret Atwood, El Coronel no tiene quien le escriba by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, You Can Thank Me Later by Kelly Harms, 33 Unplayed Voicemails by Melissa de la Cruz, Breakfast at Tiffany's by Truman Capote, The Tiger Came to the Mountain by Silvia Moreno Garcia, and The Art of Confessing by Jasmine Sullivan. And then for these are all my notes. For my Kindle collection, possibilities are Go by Kazuki Kanesho, Whatever Happened to Interracial Love by Kathleen Collins, The Mind of the Maker, The Expression of Faith Through Creativity and Art by Dorothy Sayers, Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates, Wolfpack, How to Come Together, Unleash Our Power and Change the Game by Abby Wambach. Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness by Austen Channing Brown. James Baldwin, The Last Interview and Other Conversations, and this is from the Last Interview series. The Furious Longing of God by Brennan Manning, and The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa. And then in addition to these, I also picked a little bit more than 10. I think they were like 11 or 12 from my 1,000 Books to Read Before You Die list by James Mustick. I have it here. This humongous book. I'm not going to pull it out. It's like a huge book, the 1,000 Books to Read Before You Die list by James Mustick has a section that is books that you can read in one sitting. So I took the ones that I hadn't read. I think the only one that I had from the list that I had read was 84 Charing Cross Road. But the other ones, I haven't read, and so I put them in this tin. The one that I'm hoping comes out from the 1,000 Books to Read Before You Die list is An Uncommon Reader by Alan Bennett, because it is the one book that I do have right here in the stack right below me. So I'm really hoping that that is what the TBR tin gives me. So let's see what I get to add to my reading possibilities. So I'm going to pull my notes back here. Okay, so the purple color is the physical book. So here's purple. And the winner is Restrict by Sol Rivera. And this was the poetic narrative. This is the one that is a like long form poem about eating disorders. So I'm really excited because it's a shorty. And I think once I finish it, I can come back to the jar and draw another one. And then the next color would be orange. And this is the audiobook. So this is orange. The audiobook that I'll be reading next is My Evil Mother by Margaret Atwood. Okay, and then I have green is my Kindle collection. So green. From my Kindle collection, I got I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness by Austen Channing Brown. And finally, the last one is what color am I missing? Blue. Blue is the 1,000 Books to Read Before You Die. And I got Memorial by Fernando Camon, or Camon, Fernando Camon. Memorial. I've never read this book, heard of it, I have nothing. I am looking forward to figuring this one out a little bit more. So I will try to give you more about it because I know very little. Here we go. Okay, so Ferdinando Camon was born in 1936, and it says Requiem for a Mother and a Way of Life, only 120 pages long. Memorial is a small book about a small life, yet the reader who opens it will discover a story that is unforgettably moving in its sympathy, dignity, and desire to articulate the deepest human needs. Written by one of the most notable of Italy's post-World War II writers, this enchanted autobiographical novel is steeped in the peasant culture of Camon's native Veneto, an ageless and all but vanished way of life the author has left behind for the city and the 20th century, relating the death of his mother and the building of an altar to her memory by his father. It mixes memory and meditation to evoke his people's spare, brutal, and profound intimacy with the earth and its animals, with mortality and generation. She knew nothing outside her house and those places where she worked, writes the narrator of his subject. But those places she knew by heart, as he describes that house and her labors to nourish her family's life within it. Cayman constructs an altar of words that, like his father's altar of copper and wood, bears witness to how much a heart can hold. Oh, I love it. It's a memoir, and it was written in 1978, translated by David Calicchio in 1983. Fernando Cayman also wrote The Fifth Estate, A Life Everlasting. Does Okay, it says Memorial is the best place to begin with him. So that's interesting. Okay, so I have some interesting books to read, and I'm not gonna risk this falling on top of my computer. So yeah, Memorial by Fernando Cayman. I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness by Austin Channing Brown. This is also nonfiction. My Evil Mother by Margaret Atwood. And Restrict. And that's the one I showed you here. A poetic narrative by Sol Rivera. I've talked about this book before, but briefly, Sol Rivera is a reporter for the Emmy-nominated syndicated show Teen Kids News and hosts her own YouTube channel, Soul Food, featuring self-produced videos combining her passion for cooking, geography, and literature. She is a student at the Mastery School of Hawken, a visionary high school in Cleveland, Ohio, where she serves as the editor-in-chief and founder of its literary magazine, Magnolia. Powerful work of poetic narrative fiction. Restrict is a raw yet resonant story of a teenage girl's coming of age in a world that cares more about her weight than her mental health. That's all I'm going to read. So, yeah, that's what I am starting with in the month of September. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you're reading this month. If you've read any of these books, have you read Restrict or My Evil Mother, or I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness, or Memorial? I'd be curious to know if you've read them and what you think. And I will come back again soon for another video. Hasta la próxima.